The Wolves been pushed to the brink of elimination. Full recap of a Game 4 thriller, plus the Fargo connection to the College World Series that starts in OKC. Hot Mic begins now.
Hot Mic with Dom Izzo.
Really? Really, Dom?
No. I like what Dom's doing.
Okay.
Dom Izzo.
Jeez, come on, Dom. What do you think I am, a magician?
Yeah, I'm fired up, Dom. What else could I say?
Absolutely. It was great to get on the field, and then Dom came up to me, and I'm trying to walk away from me. I just wanted to enjoy myself out there.
Hot Mic.
Great job.
There's got to be some kind of intelligent question about something.
Coach Dom Izzo, WDAY in Fargo, North Dakota.
Can you give me a layup or something?
Hot Mic. Presented by Northwestern Mutual.
That program is second to none.
On the networks of WDAY.
You know, if it's not about sports, I find it very hard to concentrate.
Here's Dom Izzo.
Good Tuesday morning. Welcome to the It's Nearly Over edition of Hot Mic on WDAY Extra. KSFL, good morning in Sioux Falls, KMBN Rapid City, and Inforum.com. 27th day of May is here, final week of the month. We're rocking and rolling into the craziest 3 days of the North Dakota high school sports calendar, and just a couple of them. We'll get you ready for that coming up on our program. Great to be back. Hope everybody had a great holiday weekend. For those that had a holiday weekend, appreciate Sam and everybody filling in for me yesterday. Good to be back here in the big chair today as we anticipate a crazy week. It begins in earnest on Thursday. I've lamented this each year I've done the show. For those that have never paid attention to it until this year, because it directly affects some, yeah, I've been on this train for a while. To have 6 tournaments in one weekend is silly, short-sighted. A couple other S words I'd like to use. It can't, but be that as it may, that's what we have coming up, and we'll be ready for it with 2 classes of baseball, 2 classes of softball, soccer, and tennis on tap. We've got all of the television programming predicaments for you coming up later on in the show. We'll celebrate a championship today. The Minnesota Frost won again. Crazily, all 4 games in the series were all in overtime, all with the same score. I'm not sure if that's ever happened before, but the Frost won. We'll get to that coming up in just a little bit. Saw yesterday the North Dakota State baseball team, when last I was here, were 2-0 in the Summit League tournament and in the catbird seat, and they needed every advantage they could get because they got pushed to the brink by Oral Roberts, but won the Summit League winner take all game on Saturday evening to win the automatic bid. Yesterday they found out they're heading to Fayetteville, Arkansas to face off with the Razorbacks out of the SEC. Not going to the West Coast. All the bracketology from Saturday night to basically yesterday morning, the selection show was 11 a.m., were of the mindset that the Bison were going to Oregon or Oregon State, either Eugene or Corvallis, and each of those regions came up, and the Bison weren't in either one. So they're heading south to the SEC, and I think, and we're going to visit with a couple of the Bison later in the week before they take off. Their non-conference schedule helped them on that. I know their record is what it is, that they're 20-32. But they still have, and I got Grand Forks people that were all over this on Saturday night. Oh, it's actually the toughest schedule in the country. I know. I said the toughest non-conference schedule in the country. That paid off. That they played LSU. They played Oklahoma State. They played Dallas Baptist. They played Alabama. All those teams made the NCAA tournament. And another one, UT Rio Grande Valley, was one of the first teams left out of the tournament. So their record may have taken some shots, and it did, but it ended up paying off since they won the league tournament and didn't go to the top overall seed. They went to the 3rd overall seed, but they could have easily went to Vanderbilt. They could have gone to Texas. They're going to Arkansas. We'll get to that coming up later on in the show. But as I sit here this morning, the Timberwolves are on the brink of elimination. Last night, Game 4 of the Western Conference Finals at Target Center we finally got a good game in this series. They had played 3 duds. OKC had controlled games 1 and 2. The Wolves won by 40 in Game 3. Not saying it was a dud to watch as a Timberwolves fan or one that observing things, because that was fun to watch on Saturday night, but it wasn't close. Last night was a dynamite basketball game. It had everything you could want in it, except for Wolves fans, the result you were hoping for, because now Oklahoma City is on the precipice of returning to the NBA Finals for the first time in 12 years. And OKC Stars were great last night. SGA was fantastic. Jalen Williams was dynamite, knocking down shots. That one, such a tough shot to make there. Thunder are up 3 late in the first. Another can 3. That one's over Rudy Gobert. Thunder were up 7 after 1. Anthony Edwards couldn't get anything going last night. Lou Dort, Chet Holmgren were all over Ant. Ant took 2 shots in the first half. 2! You're not going to win many basketball games with that. It's a 6-point lead in the second. SGA drills another 3. They're up by 9. Drive and score there. It's an 8-point Thunder lead at the break. Wolves got it turned on in the third quarter. Ant with a drive. Gets there to go. Cuts it to 7. How about a Dante DiVincenzo sighting? We haven't seen that since March. Cans of 3. The Wolves had tied it at 79. Alex Caruso cans the 3. Puts the Thunder up by 5. Chet was really good last night. The spin and the finish over Julius Randle. Thunder go right back up by 7. Wolves cut it to 3. SGA drives and scores. Back up to a 5-point lead after 3. Now to the 4th. Ant gets around a screen, cans a triple, cuts it to 6 with under 6 minutes to go. Same score. Dante in the corner, another 3. DiVincenzo. The Wolves bench was great last night. It's a 3-point game. Same score, under 5 minutes to go. SGA over his cousin, over Nickeil Alexander-Walker, cans it, puts him up by 5. The mid-range game is so good for SGA here. Look at this play. Through the legs of Jaden McDaniels, and then Jalen Williams cans a 3. When this went in, I'm like, this is going to be tough now. You saw SGA watching that pass go through. Under 2 minutes to go, another 3 from Jalen Williams, proving his mettle last night. Put the lead up to 7. Under 30 seconds to go, off the offensive rebound, McDaniels drills the corner 3, cuts it down to 2. Then it became the foul shooting and foul game down the stretch. Timberwolves get it to within 3. Ant makes the first, misses the second because he had to because they're out of timeouts, but the Thunder get the rebound. Here's the crazy play. Wolves fan catches it before the ball went out of bounds. So they put 0.3 of a second on, but they can't even get a tip shot off as the Thunder win it 128-126 and go up 3-1 in the best-of-7 series with a chance to clinch it on Wednesday night. SGA goes for a cool 40 last night, 12 of 14 at the line. He had 10 assists as well. Jalen Williams had 34. Chet was great. As I mentioned, he had 21 points and 7 rebounds. Wolves were led by Nickeil Alexander-Walker. You didn't even see him in our highlight package. He had 23 last night. Dante DiVincenzo at 21. Jaden McDaniels at 22. Anthony Edwards finishes with 16 points. The Wolves bench, which I have been lamenting all playoffs, was great. They were huge last night. Nas had 11. The Wolves bench scored 64 points, and they still lose. Afterwards, now it's a tough road to hoe, down 3-1.
If you're certainly turning it over 20-plus times and letting them have a bunch of second-chance opportunities, and we knew that. So
it was a 2-point game.
Yeah.
Was the difference in a 2-2 series or 3-1?
Yeah.
How do you kind of emphasis upon you guys that there's still more series to play?
Yeah, for sure, 100%. But this isn't the formula to get it done. And I think that's the most important thing to take away from tonight.
Definitely not the I guess, the points I wanted to get. But, I mean, they didn't really let me get too many shots off. They did a good job of that. Every time I had the ball, they showed me a major proud. So just making the right play, getting off of it. And my guys hit shots tonight, so big shout out to them.
You got to play desperate, got to play like there's no tomorrow, because there isn't. And right now, if we want to win, it's not about how much we can score. It's about, can we get the stops? Can we rebound? Can we find a way to make winning plays relentlessly and consistently, sorry. So for us, that's the focus. For me, whatever that's going to look like tonight, it looked like whatever my production was.
He was great. If he got himself a new contract with a new team last night, he certainly may have done that. So, here it is. 3-1 for Oklahoma City. They can win the series in the Western Conference Championship Wednesday night at home in OKC. 7:30 on ESPN for game number 5. I don't know what else you can ask of the Wolves bench last night. The Wolves stars were invisible. Ant had 16 points last night. I mentioned he had 2 shots in the first half. Julius Randle, who has carried Minnesota to the Western Conference Finals with what he did against the Lakers, with what he did against the Warriors. He got benched for the fourth quarter of Game 2. Last night, 1 of 7. 5 points, 7 rebounds. OKC's defense, which we described coming into the series, we knew how good it was going to be and how good it has been, took out Minnesota's 2 stars. Jaden McDaniels was great last night. He had 22. Terrence Shannon Jr., I haven't talked about what he did in Game 3. Came off the bat, was a microwave. Just went nuclear for a stretch. He scored 9 last night. He's forced his way into the rotation. He's forced Chris Finch to play him. Now you're in a world of hurt, because now you have to win 3 straight games against a team that won 68 games during the season. You got to win 2 of them down there. As Nas said there in the post game, it starts, you got to win 1, but the way that they have looked overmatched down there does not give you much hope. That was the game you had to get last night, because now it feels like a sense of inevitability is going to happen with this series. And defensively, they couldn't stop anything last night. Anytime they needed to, they got a basket, like they can't, Dante would hit a 3, or Nikhil would hit a 3, and they could not get a stop. They could not get Jalen Williams to not score. They couldn't stop Chet Holmgren from driving and dunking. They couldn't stop SGA from getting into the lane and making a mid-range shot. That's how you end up giving up 128 and losing. Now their work really cut out for him here to try and go on the road and win 3 times over. We'll see. Much more on that game coming up later on in the show. Real quick before we set things up here on this Tuesday morning, Minnesota Twins began their 3-city road trip last night in Tampa against the Rays. This is a tour of minor league ballparks because they're going to end in Sacramento. They played last night in Tampa. Of course, the Rays, Tropicana Field was destroyed. The roof was destroyed with the hurricane that came through in late September. So the Rays are playing at George Steinbrenner Field. That is the home of the Yankees during spring training, and their single-A team that plays there during this time of year. That's what they have to do. That's where the Twins were last night with Chris Paddock pitching, and Paddock, who's been great over his last handful of starts, was pretty good for a while last night. Got some great defensive help from Carlos Correa. Makes a nifty play there with a glove to keep this game scoreless through 4 innings. Of course, Correa came back from the concussion list on Friday. We talked about that. Game was scoreless until the bottom of the 6th, and it changed on one swing of the bat right there from Jonathan Aranda to make it a 3-0 Tampa lead. Correa would answer back. I think he got all of that one. Again, it's It's weird not seeing a double-decker stadium there. 2-run shot from Correa in the top of the 7th to make it a 3-2 score. But the Rays would get to Cody Funderburk. Jose Caballero, that one just out of the reach of Trevor Larnach, which I had plenty of Twins fans saying, catch the ball. And that's off the glove. It's a tough play. You're moving back, but you got to make that play. That scored 2. They weren't done. This blast of a 2-run shot from the catcher, Danny Jansen, added onto it, made it 7-2 in favor of the Rays. In the bottom of the 8th, they scored 4 runs there. Minnesota, last chance here. This a ground out to end it as the Rays go on and knock off the Twins. 7-2, the final. As Minnesota now lost a couple in a row after they lost their finale with Kansas City on Sunday. Rays get the win behind former Twin great Zach Littell. Why can't the Twins find pitchers like him? 6 1/3, struck out 4, allowed just 1 run. Paddock takes the loss, 5 1/3, 5 innings, 2 runs allowed, and 5 strikeouts as Minnesota drops to 29 and 24 on the season. Rays have actually been playing some better baseball as of late with a lineup of guys that probably you've not heard of. They just have a mix of guys that's kind of how Tampa does it these days. Game 2 comes up tonight, 6 o'clock down in Tampa. Joe Ryan will go for the Twins. Taj Bradley be the guy for Tampa. He's been really good. 4-3 on the season. ERA just north of 4.5. That's the matchup for Game 2 between these two teams. Byron Buxton is on the road trip. He's not been officially activated yet, so we'll see when and if. It's a matter of when. I don't think it's a matter of if. If he's on the trip, as Corey Provis was telling us on the show on Friday, just seems like it's a matter of time before he's back in the lineup, and the Twins could use that, his defensive help out there. After a nice weekend, though. Take 2 or 3 from Kansas City. You like that. Had a chance actually to win all 3 games against the Royals. We got a packed show coming up for you. Excited about our Tuesday lineup. Mike McFeely will be with us at 9:35. Chat everything on the Wolves and describe what went down last night. That's coming up. Also, Mike was at the selection party. We'll get to that coming up here in just a little bit. I'm really excited. 10 o'clock. Ole Miss softball coach Jamie Trachsel will join us. Former Bison associate head coach and assistant. She was with Darren Mueller for the better part of 14 years in Fargo. Left to be coach at Iowa State. Coached the Gophers for a handful of years. She's just wrapping up her 5th year at Ole Miss. And for the first time, they're going to the College World Series. They won their Super Regional on the road. One of the 8 teams. No, there's 8 in the College World Series. I think there's 5 out of the SEC that are going to be in Oklahoma City. She'll join us at 10 o'clock. And just found out Cheyenne baseball head coach Jason Beilke is going to join us at 10:35. The Mustangs heading back to the Class A baseball tournament. That begins on Thursday in Kraft Field in Grand Forks. It's been a while since Kraft Field has hosted anything, but that will be the site of the Class A baseball tournament. So we'll visit with Coach Beilke coming up at 10:35 to wrap up our show here on a Tuesday morning. That and a heck of a lot more coming up here over the next hour and 40 minutes or so. We come back, we'll update things from the ice, the Frost win, and the Hurricanes finally won a conference final game. That's coming up here on a busy Tuesday morning edition of Hot Mike on WDAY Extra. We're back right after this. Welcome back, everybody, on a Tuesday morning edition of Hot Mike. Plenty of emails coming in from last night's game. Get to that. Also, I got a few to read from yesterday's show that were sent to me from over the weekend. I want to get to that as well. But our state track coverage, I thought that was important to read. We'll do that coming up later on in the show. Also, yesterday, we had 2 monster hockey games. The Minnesota Frost have won the PWHL championship for the 2nd year in a row. The league has been around for 2 years, and they've won it 2 years against the Ottawa Charge yesterday in Game 4 at Xcel Energy Center in downtown St. Paul. This, the first goal of the game. Kelly Panic scoring down low after a nifty feed to make it a 1-0 Minnesota lead. Ottawa would tie it, because of course they would, because every game was by the same score. Then Liz Sheppers finishes off the overtime winner. They played 3 overtimes on Saturday, and they need just one. 12 minutes into overtime. Kendall Coyne Schofield with the Walter Cup, and for the second year in a row, the Frost win it. Unbelievable that happened. Every single game was overtime. Every single game was a 2-1 score. Congratulations. After last year when they won in Game 5 on the road, they had a chance to win it at home, you'll remember, and lost in Game 4 in overtime, and then they won on the road to win the championship. They win last night. How about this? The Ottawa goaltender, Gwyneth Phillips, she was named the MVP of the postseason in a losing effort. Something that actually happened last year, remember. Connor McDavid won the Conn Smythe for Edmonton, despite the fact they did not win the Stanley Cup. That happens again, this time on the women's side. But congratulations to the Frost. What a great atmosphere. You saw in the video there. The place is packed. They're going to expand the league. We'll go from 6 to 8 teams starting next year. I believe franchises in Seattle and Vancouver are on the way. It keeps getting better. The league certainly has the talent for it. And right now, Minnesota, all they do is win. Champions there. The Lynx are off to a great start. Congratulations to the Minnesota Frost for bringing home a second consecutive PWHL championship. Also on the ice yesterday, we had Game 4 in the Eastern Conference Finals between Carolina and Florida. I looked this stat up before the game last night because I kept hearing Carolina had lost, I believe it was at 16 conference finals games in a row, which is a crazy stat. First off, you have to make it there, which you got to win 2 rounds to do it. But they had not won a conference finals game since June of 2006. Matt Cullen was playing for the Hurricanes the last time that they won a conference finals game. I'll have more on that in a second. Last night, this was the first time they actually led in the series. Logan Stocklin scores there to make it a 1-0 Hurricanes lead. They had not led at any point in the series against the Panthers. It took until the midway part of the second period for them to score. They got a couple empty netters. That one from Sebastian Aho to make it a 2-0 score. They'd add another from Jordan Stahl. I can't believe Jordan Stahl is still playing. That made it 3-0. The Hurricanes would stave off elimination and beat Florida, snap the Panthers' win streak. The Panthers had won 4 in a row after winning Game 7 against Toronto, and they had dominated in each of those games. So Carolina forces a Game 5. That will be tomorrow night in Raleigh. Tonight we've got Game 4 between Dallas and Edmonton, with the Oilers leading that series 2-1. Real quick on the Hurricanes here. So Matt Cullen actually, they beat the Sabres. Buffalo hasn't been good in hockey since. That was 2006. That was 2 months before I moved to Fargo. That's a long time ago, folks, okay? Cullen helped the Hurricanes. I know he was huge in Game 7. And, of course, they went on. Carolina won the Stanley Cup that year. Cullen actually left Carolina and came back 2009. The Hurricanes got swept that year by the Penguins. It's just crazy. Then they went a stretch there where they didn't make the playoffs for about 7 years. They got beat again. Florida swept them a couple years ago. That's a ridiculous streak that finally was put to bed last night in South Florida. So congratulations there to end. Again, you want to make it that far, but you want to win a game in that round. Like the Wolves last year fell behind 0-3, won against Dallas in Game 4, and then the Mavericks closed them out in Game 5. You don't want to go there and get swept. Nobody ever wants to get swept. You want to make it a good series here. And at least Carolina has forced a 5th game. And for the television partners that bring home the leagues, they don't like sweeps either. They wanted to go as long as possible. Traditionally how it goes, the longer a series goes, the higher the ratings are as you get deeper into it. So if there's a game 6 or a Game 7, obviously, then there's hope that they can get higher ratings for it. Heck, at this point, for me, without any rooting interest, you're looking for good games. That's all you want. You just want the best games possible this late in it. If you have, quote-unquote, the best team still playing, you want to see the best games as the series go on. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Certainly in the women's side of things, you had 4 dynamite games. In the Stanley Cup playoffs, that series, that Carolina-Florida one, has been one-sided. Dallas-Edmonton's been not bad, although Edmonton pretty much dominated Game 3 on Sunday afternoon. We'll see what happens tonight. But that's the update from things going on the ice. As about a week from now, we'll be ready for the Stanley Cup Final. The NBA Finals begin a week from Thursday on WDAY. That's a hard start date, June 5th. Hockey is fluctuating there depending on when the series end. If they're 5-game wraps, then there's a potential to get started a little bit earlier. If they go later, I wouldn't be surprised if hockey starts later than basketball, because first, they never compete. They're never going to be played on the same night. And hockey already knows when basketball is being played. They'll get out of the way for that. And remember, the Stanley Cup Final this year is on cable exclusive. It's on TNT this year. We'll break. We come back. Mike McFeely will join us. Recap. He was at the Bison Watch Party yesterday. North Dakota State heading into the baseball tournament. We'll talk about that and a bunch of other topics when we roll on to the Tuesday morning edition of Hot Mike right after this.
Oh, it's Mr. McFeely.
I have seen the future, and he was wearing number 5, and I ain't talking about Robbie Grimsley, folks.
Took out the muffins, took out the trail mix, took out the cookies. They stole the monster cookies.
Wow, that's awesome. That is so awesome. Let's do some broadcasting.
Yeah. All right, we'll do some broadcasting with our guy, Mike McFeely. Not awesome last night was Anthony Edwards or Julius Randle. Wolves bench was pretty good, but the Wolves superstars, not great.
The Randle thing, I think they could live without him last night because they got so much. I mean, Dante DiVincenzo hit like 4 threes. It's like, whoa!
I know. I texted you last night. Hey, Dante made a couple shots, and then what'd he do?
But they got what they needed out of him.
Yep.
Right? They got what they needed out of Nickeil Alexander-Walker.
Yep.
Jaden McDaniels was fine.
Good.
Rudy Gobert, I mean, his role is to get rebounds and protect the rim.
And block shots.
Yep. And so that got what they needed out of him for the most part. The one guy that didn't get what they needed was, in my view, Anthony Edwards. And that's you can't have that in that situation.
2 shots in the first half?
Yeah.
Like,
if you're going to be that guy and you're going to be him, then in that game, it's okay if you do that in February when you're playing at Memphis or something. You just disappear. But there was just like such long stretches of the game last night where I'm watching going, I don't know that he's on the floor.
Right. That's not good.
I mean, if I'm like looking around going, where's 5? Oh, there he is in the corner, just standing there.
Yep.
I mean, you can't. I didn't know that he was on the floor. And if you don't know that your superstar, face of the franchise, the guy that people were comparing to, he's better than Kevin Garnett. Well, I always knew when Kevin Garnett was in the game.
Yeah.
I mean, I wasn't looking for Kevin Garnett, wondering if he was playing or not, especially in big games. Right, wrong, or indifferent. I mean, good, bad, or indifferent. You always knew that KG was on the floor. And last night was just. And then the flip side of it was Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. You knew he was on the floor.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
I mean, I think he ended up with 40 points.
Yep.
And in the third and fourth quarters, the Wolves actually outshot Oklahoma City. They out-rebounded them. They did all the things they needed to do, but when Oklahoma City needed a bucket in the third and fourth quarters, it wasn't just Alexander.
Jalen Williams, the other guy.
But it was when they needed a bucket, he got the ball. He got to the spots. They talk about getting to their spots. These NBA guys, they have certain spots where it's like, if I need a shot, I'm going to get to 3 feet beyond the free throw line and get to the elbow. That's where I want to. And he did that. And he made the shots. There was a play, I think it was early to mid fourth quarter, where I think it was Jaden McDaniels was guarding SGA, and he could not have played better defense. Could not have played, and he still got the little turnaround from 15 feet
right.
and hit nothing but net. And I said to my wife, Michelle, I'm like, I mean, that's just a superstar.
Right.
I mean, the Wolves did nothing wrong on that play, and he just was better.
The one play that where SGA slipped, then got the ball between McDaniel's legs to Jalen Williams for a three. Like, come on.
It was not a travel.
No.
That was everybody screaming. He kept his pivot foot.
ESPN had a great replay of it. Actually, you can see he kept his pivot foot the entire time.
And that's what it's. I know it's. I'm off Twitter 99% of the time. I had to check it this morning to see what the whining, just ridiculous reaction was from fans and the radio station in the Twin Cities, and it's the referees are not losing these games for the Timberwolves. I came in here after that first game and said, wow, does SGA get every call? Yep. And he does get calls. Do not mistake that. He gets calls that Anthony Edwards does not get yet. But that's not why the Wolves are losing these games. It's you can't have your superstar guy
just vanish.
Just become a ghost on the floor.
Chet was really good last night too. Holmgren got to the basket. He was blocking shots. He had a couple threes. He was
outstanding.
Really good.
Yeah, he
really
was.
good.
Yep. I mean, Oklahoma City's the better team. I mean, that part has been exposed. I thought that they were going to be more even. I thought so too. Going into the series, I was like, the Wolves could win this. And now that I've seen the games, it's like
there's a gap there.
I mean, it went to Game 7 against Denver.
Right.
I think the Wolves are better than Denver.
Yes.
But it just there's a gap there, and then the Wolves have not helped themselves at all. I mean, you can't. I mean,
21 turnovers last night.
You can't win by 40 in one game and then come back and go, all right, and just
right.
I mean, you can't turn it over 21 times.
You can't dribble into double teams all the time.
Constant dribbling and losing the ball, and that part of it to me doesn't make any sense. You know what they're going to do. I mean, they reach, they slap, and they don't foul. They're just really good.
Aggressive at defense. Yeah. They're really good at it. I think for a lot of folks that hadn't seen OKC, this might be their first introduction to them over the last week and a half. Like, they're really bleeping good, man.
Yeah,
they're really good.
They got Williams, SGA, Holmgren.
Dort's really good defensively.
Caruso is
your guy Caruso.
Just.
Meanwhile, the Knicks' strategy is get behind by 20 and we're all set. Get behind by 20, we'll come back and win.
Well, but that goes back to what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
Do you ever not know when Jalen Brunson's up? The Knicks are not very good for an NBA team. I mean, if you look at the Knicks, you go, well, they can't win the championship because they just have so many holes. But you always know when Jalen Brunson is on the floor, and he is not going to be denied. They might not win every game. They haven't won every game. But he is going to get his shots. He is going to get to where he needs to go, and he's just going to be part of the game.
Right.
And it's, again, win, lose, or indifferent, he's not. You're not going to go, where's Jalen Brunson? Because he always has the ball.
Right. Exactly.
And he's always going to the bucket, or he's always making a play, and it goes back to that. I watch a lot of Celtics games, as we've talked about in this program, right? My wife is a massive Celtics fan. My one criticism of Jason Tatum, and I'm not the only one, is that if you watch their games enough over the years as I have, Jason Tatum sometimes he's not there.
Yeah.
I mean, he'll have games and stretches of games where he'll be unstoppable. And then for whatever reason, it just you just go, okay. I mean, okay. And then he's griping about the officiating, and he's, behind the play doing this to the officials and doing. And it's like, not now. No. Don't do this now.
Right.
Again, do this in February on some Wednesday game against Orlando. Don't do it in the second round of the playoffs.
Yes. Email comes in. Dom, the thing that impressed me most was the OKC ball pressure. The Wolves consistently were forced to make their offensive entry pass from out near half court, while the Wolves allowed OKC to back them down to the wing or paint on their entry pass. Totally changes the complexion of each possession.
Yes.
Yeah.
But go around them. I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy. It's, Edwards' answer last night was, well, they were, they're doubling me. Yep.
Okay.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
That means somebody's open, right?
Well, let's see. Jason Tatum gets doubled.
Yeah.
Jalen Brunson they all get doubled. All the superstars get doubled, or sometimes tripled. because they're not going to let. And in that credit to OKC, they said they're not going to beat us. Anthony Edwards is not going to beat us, and he just didn't make it. It's like he went, okay, I'm not going to beat you. That's the part that was disappointing. It's just this is the game they had to have.
Had to have
it. They had to have the previous game, and they got it.
Yep. You got to get this one.
They had to get this one to make it 2-2, and it just. And they were in the game until the end, till the final minute.
Yes.
They were in the game. It was a one-possession game in the final minute.
They just could not get a stop. They couldn't play any defense.
I didn't. I was going to look at the play-by-play last night before I came in because there was a stretch there where Oklahoma City must have scored on like 12 straight possessions.
Every possession, it seemed like.
The other part of it was like the Wolves got caught standing around when OKC would shoot. I mean, how many follows did Chet Holmgren have? How many dunks did
offensic rebounds? There
was a play where Holmgren shot a three from the top of the key.
I know exactly.
The rebound came off. I think it was Williams that got the rebound. I'm not sure who it was. Holmgren just goes to the bucket.
Right to the basket.
I mean, it was as wide as 694 in the Twin Cities, and Holmgren just walked through and had it. It's like, what are you doing?
Okay, so prior to the free throws at the end, they made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possessions in a row. They scored 7. Sorry, they scored a basket.
Yep. And some of those were offensive rebounds, but that was noticeable as well. I thought that I know it's just a war. I mean, it's not it's just but you can't have guys going unfettered to the basket and for dunks late in the game. I mean, just cross body block him. I mean, just get a foul. I don't care. Just
something.
Knock him on his scrawny rear end and just end it.
How do we feel about OKC Indiana NBA Finals?
The TV executives would love it. which I don't care about. Good. No. Hey, TV exec. Yeah. Nobody cares what you think.
I don't know why so many people are obsessed about that either. Like random people that have nothing to do with that. Like who cares?
Yeah.
It's going to be right.
Nobody. No regular person cares. But people like you do because you're obsessed with television.
I'm in it. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, for the entertainment value,
it'd be pretty good. I thought, right?
It's going to be pretty good. But I'd be okay. Indiana's fun to watch.
Yep.
Right? They are. Siakam is
really
a fun
good.
player to watch.
Really good. Yep. We'll see. OKC and Minnesota comes up tomorrow night, Game 5. Game 4 with the Knicks and the Pacers is tonight. We'll break. We come back. Mike was up at NDSU yesterday for the baseball selection show. We'll chat about that. And college football.
All kinds of luminaries up there.
There was.
Oh.
Was there?
The president.
That's a big deal.
That's a big deal.
And college football is trying to ruin itself again. Breaking news. Back on Hot Mike right after this.
SEC in the Big Ten?
Yeah. Welcome back, everybody. Wrapping up our first hour back with Mike McFeely. We know the North Dakota State baseball team will play Arkansas in the NCAA tournament beginning on Friday down in Fayetteville. You were up at the selection watch party yesterday.
I did. I stopped in. Yeah, it was
pretty cool deal.
It was fun. It was. I mean, it's an NCAA tournament team.
It is.
They beat the team that everybody thought was going to win the tournament, Oral Roberts.
Because they always win the tournament.
Because they always win the tournament. Yeah, unless it's NDSU winning the tournament, it's Oral Roberts winning the tournament.
Yep.
But yeah, it was fun. I'm glad I went up there. First of all, I had not been up on the second floor of the.
You had not?
No.
Okay. The Legacy Lounge
that place
is
locked.
All right,
that
man.
place is locked. They don't want people looking around that joint. I mean, that's like it's like a nuclear submarine. Or they don't want pictures. They don't want photographs of this. It's like, why do you? But
it's okay up there.
It's pretty nice.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so so the team was, as I wrote about, the scuttlebutt was they were going to go out to Corvallis, Oregon, or Eugene, Oregon, and play either Oregon or Oregon State. And NDSU knew that it was going to play a high-seeded team because they were the Summit League champ. It's just like the basketball. It's a mid-major, and this NDSU team's record was better RPI, better strength of schedule than what the record would show because they played a tough non-conference schedule. But even the Summit League, I asked Tyler Oakes, the coach, yesterday, I'm like, you're still 500 in the Summit League. I mean, he's like, it's injuries and ups and downs, and it's baseball, and we just, we kind of got some things squared away. Not a great hitting team.
No.
They all admit that. They're like, we're not going to hit 6 home runs and score 15 runs, they're going to win 4-2 games.
They're going to scratch and claw for every run they get.
I don't know if that's going to work against Arkansas. I think that Arkansas, obviously, they're the number 3 overall seed in the tournament. They're not going to go down as easily as Omaha and Oral Roberts. They're going to really need some pitching to stay in these games.
Yep.
But they are what they are, and they've made it work with what they have.
You spoke with Danny Lackenmeyer, their big freshman left-hander. I spoke with him last week before they went to the Summit League tournament, who became a household name this past weekend for what he did out of the bullpen. Went 3 innings in the winner take all game and struck out 7 guys.
He went 3 against Omaha in the first game that they needed to win. Obviously, that was like a 1-0 10-inning victory.
Yep.
And then he went 3 1/3 in the championship game, and had 7 strikeouts and struck out an Oral Roberts batter with runners on first and third in a 2-run game. And he's. I'm not. It was my first time looking into much about NDSU baseball this season, but he's 6'3", 195-pound left-hander out of Egan. I asked Tyler Oaks, like, well, how's he end up here?
Yeah.
No offense. I mean, being 6'3" and being left-handed.
Correct.
Back in the old days, before baseball was all this analytics crap, that used to be a pretty valuable. I mean, left-handed pitchers could pitch till they were 94 years old because there were so few left-handed pitchers. But in high school and Legion ball, I guess he was only throwing 84, 85, which to me seems like it's sonic speed. But in baseball these days, that's not.
Nope.
He's throwing harder now, as I understand. Both Danny and Oaks said he's probably throwing high 80s into the hitting 90, low 91 once in a while. But his out pitch is a gyro slider, which I'm an old man, so I just what?
Yeah,
that's a gyro slider. Apparently, is a slider that spins less.
Correct.
And uses gravity to drop more than the spin sideways.
Sounds really hard to hit.
It does, but viewing some of the stuff online, it is really hard to hit, and so that's his pitch. But a true freshman closer and throwing him in some key situations,
time spots.
That's pretty good.
Yep. So they're in there with Kansas and Creighton. They actually split with Creighton.
Yeah,
Those are a couple
Creighton,
midweek games, but they won down in Omaha back in early April. So it's double elimination. So if they don't win that first game, they've got to win another one then to keep their tournament run going. So,
but NDSU was 1-14 to start, which is not. If you look at all the Summit League teams from up north, they all start off horribly because they go down to Texas or California or wherever. And they're playing teams that have been playing.
Yeah, Bison played Bama and LSU.
Yeah, and well, that part of it's that they play. But I'm talking about just the old. I mean, the northern teams just they're in a gym or now they're in the indoor for 5 months, and the other teams are outside. So it's
all year long.
South Dakota State, they all start off 2-13 but NDSU was 1-14. They played Alabama, they played LSU when they were ranked second in the country. They, played all these good teams.
Oklahoma
I
State.
asked Oaks about that yesterday too. I said, "Is there's a purpose to playing a schedule like that you want to toughen up your team, and it's better to do that than to play Division II schools and rack up wins. The wins don't matter. Just like in basketball, it all comes down to the tournament. There's not going to be an at-large team from the Summit League that gets into the baseball tournament." I said, "Was there a problem of losing confidence? I mean, it's 1-14 is 1-14. I don't care if you're playing Alabama and LSU. It's still one." And he said, "Well, but we weren't getting hammered every game. We were losing 7-4 or 5-2. We weren't getting beat 21-2.
Yeah,
and so, you can look at the team and say we're going to be okay because we're losing to LSU, 5-4. So."
Last thing before I let you go, is there anything you are less interested in, like myself, than the powers that be that run college football about figuring out their 16-team playoff?
The NHL playoffs, I'm less interested in that than anything on earth. But the college football stuff is, now it's the SEC and the Big Ten are going to try to guarantee themselves like 4 spots each.
4. So that's, 8 of the 16.
That'd be half of the field.
So it's just basically an invitational.
Yeah, it's just stupid. Just stupid.
And they have the the more power to do it. They have quote unquote, they have the votes to do it.
Because of who and because of why? TV
Because they have television.
Hey, there you
television
go.
And the money that goes with that on television.
There you go. Because the TV, the guy that runs the Big Ten,
Tony Petitti, he's the Big Ten
Tony
commissioner.
Soprano. He's a former TV executive.
He is.
All he cares about is TV and the money that comes from TV.
And the reason
Tony Soprano does not care about anybody else in the world. He does not care about the MAC. He does not care about the Mountain West. He does not care about the ACC.
Or the Big 12.
He cares about the Big Ten and the SEC. And he only cares about the SEC because if Sankey wanted to, he could bury him too.
Correct.
He's junior. Sankey is junior. And Junior Soprano, and Tony is Tony Soprano.
Oh, man.
And so, although I think Tony won out in the end.
He
but
did
anyway,
win it out.
yeah.
In the end, Big Ten ended up winning out on that.
Yep.
So the story started percolating yesterday because Sankey gave a press conference. I was just like, come, just tell us what it is. We don't need all of it. Just whatever it is, just do it and then go.
It just.
Every time with this sport, I swear it can't get out of its own way on some things.
No, but they're making more money
Right,
than ever.
correct.
And the what? The TV ratings
and
are through
people,
the roof.
And people watch.
Yes,
I watch. You will too.
I watch too.
You'll watch.
I watch too.
It's crazy.
The president was up at the baseball thing yesterday. I was just too polite to ask him. Have you been talking to the Mountain West lately?
You gave him. It was a holiday.
I
said,
you know break. What? I said, you know what, President Cook, it's Memorial Day. We're all just gonna see how these kids react to this baseball. I'm not gonna bust your chops.
You didn't go in there and go
FBS. I did not. I was thinking about it, but I was not in my Sid Hartman mood yesterday. I was more in my just mellow.
Just bull rush him, go right towards him.
How come you're not getting this to the Mountain West? What are you doing? That's my Sid Hartman impression, by the way.
You gave him a day off.
I gave him a day off. Next time I see him.
That's nice.
So if anybody in President Cook's office or the president himself is watching this or sees a highlight, just let the president know that the next time I see him,
it's happening.
It's going to be a total frontal bull rush. And why is NSU not in the Mountain West yet?
Great to see you, man. Thanks for coming by as always. Appreciate it. We'll do this next week, all right?
You betcha.
Mike McFeely joins us each and every Tuesday at 9:30.
Oh, look, hey, there's Anthony Edwards. Just saw him right there. I'll be there.
Vanished.
Wow, haven't seen him for 48 hours, but he just showed up right there.
We'll break. Second hour of Hot Mike begins right after this on WDAY Extra at Inforum.com. Back after this.
This is Hot Mike. Hot Mike on the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Rolls on here on this rather warm Tuesday. Finally, we got looks like summer weather heading our way. I got an email about this, and I will get to it now. We're gonna have Jamie Trachsel join us here in just a minute. Their sports information contact just emailed me saying the bus is pulling in for their lift, so we might be a couple minutes late. We'll update you where we are. So we'll get to her in just a couple minutes. College Softball World Series begins on Thursday in Oklahoma City. Ole Miss made it for the first time. Of course, Jamie was a longtime assistant coach with Darren Mueller, was for 14 years, 2002 to 2016. Then left, coached at Iowa State for 1 year, coached at Minnesota for 3, I want to say, and then she's been at Ole Miss now for the last 5. That tournament begins, I mentioned, on Thursday, and it's become one of the great events we've got going. ABC has picked up on it. They start televising it. Begins on Thursday. Texas, Florida is the first game. Tennessee, Oklahoma. Ole Miss plays at 6 o'clock on Thursday night against Texas Tech. And then Oregon, UCLA is the late game. And we'll get you the bracket on that before the week is out to get you ready for. Oh, there it is. Thanks, guys. That's one side of it with, as you can see, SEC school on one side. And then Ole Miss is the last SEC school with Texas Tech representing the Big 12 and Oregon, UCLA, of course, representing the Big 10. So that's we'll get to in a second. Also, I got an email in asking, Dom, do we know yet on any Missouri Valley football TV stuff? I can tell you the wait is almost over. Thursday, the first few weeks of the college football television schedule will drop. Actually, we're hearing earlier in the day. Last year was like 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock, might be about noon on Thursday. Not for us, unfortunately. They don't consider Hot Mic on that. But to the larger point, that's when, so weeks, well, they'll count 0 in there, 0 through 3, all the networks and conferences will announce their games and the times of the games and the networks that are going to go with it. Also with that, there will be the announcement of games that are going to be on the specialty games. So, for example, the Big Sky is doubling its television output to 4, I want to say, this year, because they're going to have a couple games on Fridays along with Saturdays. We'll get those announced. The Missouri Valley Football Conference, as we know, is in its second year of its television deal with ESPN. They'll also announce their games. And why that's important, obviously, we're waiting here at WDAY to figure out what games we won't be able to do, frankly. Second, I think a lot of us are just intrigued who's going to get the games. What games are they going to take? Because last week, if you were with us on Friday's show, ESPN listed its top 10 games of the 2025 season. Pretty much these are the can't-miss games for 2025. In that mix was South Dakota and North Dakota State, the USD game, not the SDSU game. So that stands to reason if it's getting that kind of attention that maybe ESPN would want to come and get it. Because we had this discussion on, well, that's homecoming. And would they move the homecoming time? Yep. 2 sources have told me that ESPN has already reached out to NDSU asking if they had any issue moving any home game times. And they said no. So planning, we'll get it, but it's coming pretty quick. As of now, we know 10 of the 12 Bison game times. Late last week, UND announced their game times. The Bison will play up in Grand Forks at 1 o'clock. And we have one night game we know so far. Illinois State will be a night game for North Dakota State in early October. That's what we know. So to answer that email, that's where we're at in terms of waiting on the potential for television games coming up later on in the week. Thursday, we'll finally have all our answers. The one thing, we were talking about this upstairs as a group before the holiday, before last week's state track meet. If they were to televise that, the television, the draft, people would watch that. People want to see what network is picking what game. The nerd I would watch. I'm sure there's plenty. Oh, well, okay. Fox knows they're taking Ohio State and Michigan with the first pick, right? And then CBS is going to go next. Well, they're going to take, give me one, Michigan, Penn State. Okay. Now ESPN, you're up. Well, okay, we're taking Alabama, LSU. Believe me, worse things have been televised, okay? People would be intimately, the amount of questions I get on it, yeah, there would be people interested in, but how that goes about. Considering the NFL schedule release gets a 2 to 3 hour show every year, and we already know the opponents. Like going in for the NFL schedule, there's nothing that we don't know. Like we already knew the Vikings were going to play the Chargers. We knew they were going to play them on the road. We didn't know when the game was going to happen. It could be a Brazil game. It could be one of those. And what channel it'd be on and what time it would kick off. All the other parts we knew. This, okay, we know they're playing. We don't know if it's a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. We don't know if it's a night game, if it's a late afternoon kickoff, if it's a morning kickoff. Like that, college football is completely, this goes back to the thing we were talking about with Mike before. we wrapped up the first hour of the show. College football has sold its soul so much to television that the fans are the least considered on this, the ones that go to the actual games. Because they let their fans know sometimes 4 or 5 days before the game happens when it actually is going to kick off. Like, as someone who actually, I have a son, wife, family, the whole 9 yards. Planning anything out normally takes a few days, maybe a week. If I wanted to go, I can't be finding out, well, wait a minute, Thursday, the game, okay, so wait a minute, they flexed it, and now it's going to be noon kick. Wait a minute. That's why the NFL decided on that Thursday night flex, they have to give them, I believe, 3 weeks a heads up, which is still too much, or not enough time, because if you're anybody trying to change a plane ticket these days, good luck on that. Again, we're waiting. Hopefully we'll get Coach Trachsel here. If not, we'll get her after the break. As Ole Miss is okay, we're here now, loading up very short. Okay, so stand by for that. So we'll be coming here in just a couple minutes, and we'll get Jamie on to talk some softball here. Let's see. I got 2 other emails from yesterday because we may not get time for them here before the end of the show. Again, Jason Beilke is going to join us as well from West Fargo Cheyenne baseball. This came in yesterday. I don't want to get to it. Dom and Sam, because this came, I don't know if Sam read this. Thank you to and WDAY for the North Dakota State track meet broadcast. The camera coverage and analysis were excellent during the actual events, and the interviews of the winners afterwards was fantastic. Both my wife and I followed the events to the end on Saturday. Cheers on that. Here. I'll echo that from myself watching, and I was cutting highlights together for our social media channels over the weekend. It was fantastic. It was everything that we had hoped, and the planning on this had started basically after the last basket was made at the Class B basketball tournament in March, that everything was starting to go into track. We brought a mini army out there like we probably would travel for a Bison football game. It was probably hard to miss for people that were in Bismarck over the weekend to not see somebody with a camera or a microphone running around the community bowl. It was great. It was everything that, at least for me as someone who's gone and covered it and then been on the other side of it, to see that, top notch. Another one comes in. Great job on the coverage of the meet, in which 19 other plus competitors participated, the largest tournament in the state. Very professionally orchestrated and announced, and arguably the best facilities in the upper Midwest. This was long overdue. We had TV coverage of the boys' meet back in the 1970s, and then so many years that lack coverage and exposure. Keep up the great work. Appreciate that email. I got a couple of those yesterday, and I wanted to make sure we shared that on the show today as we get, because now we're, as we mentioned off the top, we're looking forward to what we got coming up here with this weekend with the Class A and B baseball, Class A and B softball, soccer, and tennis weekend, which we're going to be stretched to the nth degree. I mean, this is about as stretched as we can be without breaking over the next 4 days or so. A setup will begin on that. But it looked great, sounded great. You didn't miss anything. If you wanted to see the javelin, you saw it. If you wanted to see the pole vault, you saw that. We saw a record of the pole vault. If you wanted to see the 4x8, you saw it. If you wanted to see the hammer, got it. Discus, got it. Javelin, anything. The hurdles, got it. I mean, it was fantastic. Loved every minute of that. Okay, we're going to break now. The Ole Miss people are telling me we're going to get Jamie here in just a second. So when we come back, Jamie Trachsel will join us. We'll visit with her about the Women's College World Series at her time in Fargo. Back on Hot Mic right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Hot Mic Tuesday show rolls on. Get a preview of the State A baseball tournament coming up here in about 15 minutes. Mentioned earlier, the Women's College World Series begins Thursday. Oklahoma City seems to be the fixture for all Minnesota sports fans, whether it's the Wolves playing the Thunder, but obviously the World Series is there as well. Ole Miss's softball team is there for the first time. Usually we wouldn't care too much about that, but their head coach is someone that spent plenty of time in the upper Midwest and certainly in Fargo and at North Dakota State. Jamie Trachsel is the head coach at Ole Miss, and she joins us here as the Rebels have made it to OKC for the first time. It's great to see you. It looks like you got a permanent smile on your face for the last 2 days. Describe of what it was like Sunday on the road, winning and making it to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, well, first I want to say I appreciate you having me, and it's great to see familiar faces. I spent 16 proud years at NDSU. When people ask me about my career, I say personally and professionally grew up in Fargo and at NDSU. And I've learned this along the way that no matter what you accomplish or where you go, you have a lot of people to thank, and you never want to forget where you come from. So I'm proud to be on this for a few minutes, but Sunday was great. I've been blessed and very grateful to be part of some pretty special firsts. And it started back at NDSU in 2009, winning our regional to go to Supers, Minnesota, the World Series, and obviously this past Sunday at Arkansas. And they're all similar in their own sense, but completely uniquely different. And Sunday was probably the calmest day I've had in a moment like that, just as a coach. And I think our players gave us that confidence. Their confidence, the way they carried themselves, their mentality going into that day. It just felt like it was going to be different, and the response system throughout the whole game gave us a lot of confidence. But pretty cool in front of 4,000 Arkansas fans to kind of do that and do something special in a pretty hostile environment. But proud of our players and excited for the opportunity here in OKC.
To do it against a conference rival, that make it even sweeter. What happened?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's it's a bloodbath down here. It's not even friendly fire sometimes. It's just fire, in the conference play. And obviously there's a lot on the line every year. Every game is so challenging, and having the ability to let go and move on from whether you win or you lose. We always say there's no carryovers, but to do it on someone else's field and the way that we did it, the way this team has done it back-to-back weekends and postseason play, it's pretty special.
You were part, obviously, of the Gopher team that went there. How much are you relying on your own experience to tell your players about what's to come this weekend?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing from coming here was one thing I told our administration, we need to get up there as soon as possible because it gets fast, your days get filled. There's a lot of really cool things we get to be part of, but it's long with the media and how structured everything is and some of the different events we get to go to. But so the first thing was, the plan was actually, you have to prepare for it, was to go straight up to Oklahoma from Arkansas. So we were prepared for that. Get in here, get settled, kind of catch your breath after a long emotional weekend. Do laundry, figure out where you're going, what that next place is, and obviously we've given ourselves an extra day and a half to get settled. And then just to tell them how fast things go and to slow down. And there's a ton of media and a ton of cameras. So yeah, having some familiarity with the schedule, the planning, what the days feel like to get rested is definitely an advantage, and obviously from a couple years ago.
Guess it shouldn't be so much of a surprise, James, that half the league, more than half the teams there are from your conference. I mean, for people that maybe don't follow softball on a regular basis, do you describe what a weekly grind is it for your team?
Yeah, I think the thing that I would have learned, even being down here and coming from the north, is just it's 9 weeks of conference play, and it is just grueling. There's no day off. There's no weekend off. Anybody can beat anybody. I think the winner of our regular season still lost 7 games. And again, every game matters. And we always told our team, whether you're going for the series win, the sweep, or just to win one on that, and whatever day that is, it matters. And it matters for seeding in the conference tournament. That matters for postseason seeding and where you go and how your matchups are. But I think the grind of that, you have to have some tough kids. You can be good, but if you're not tough, and we learned how to be tough, we're a different team than even the start of our conference season. And I think our regular season actually forced us into that and really brought out who we actually can be as competitors individually and certainly as a team. But it's a grind, and it will mentally and emotionally challenge you as much as physically.
You still have some upper Midwest connection on your team. Lexi Brady, we just saw Lexi Brady from Sioux Falls did a monster home run for you on Sunday. How important was that to still have some time? I mean, you got softball players that are all over the place down where you're at now, but to have some tie to the upper Midwest on your team right now?
Yeah, I mean, it's home, right? Like, and Lexi was committed to us at Minnesota. So we saw her 6-7 years ago now that she's a senior, I guess. Came to camp, was committed there. And then when I came down to Ole Miss, obviously I made that phone call to her, and I'm really proud of her growth and her development the last 4 years, and especially this year offensively. Like, she's earned every bit of what she's gotten. 3 hitting coaches in 3 years is not easy for anybody. So big credit to her and her opening, whoever came in with open arms and being receptive to their coaching. We had 3 players come with us from Minnesota to Ole Miss, so that felt like home to me too. Angelina De Leon and Lexi are those 2 that I've had kind of the longest standing relationship with. But proud of Lexi, proud of Ange, what they've done. And that was kind of the nail in the coffin, it felt like, on Sunday.
You, I know wherever you've gone, you've still scheduled NDSU. You did it this year. What was that like to get the Bison to come down to Oxford this year?
Oh, Darren's family, like, I'll probably get emotional talking about him just because of the journey that we went on together, Part of where I am is because of him, and he had so much confidence in me when I was a young coach and gave me so much responsibility and trusted me with that and trusted me to be loyal to him, to be loyal to the program. There's a lot of things that I still carry with me that I think it was a great fit for both of us, was just that it's team first, it's mission first, team always is kind of the saying that we have, and who you're going to be as a teammate and as a team leader, certainly. But he's special to me. This program is special to me in every area. All the people that were there, a big part of my life.
Have you seen now they got turf up here now, finally?
Yeah. Yeah. Our players, I think I got to think back to what year that was, would appreciated that.
Yeah, right?
They shoveled our infield one year.
I remember, yes.
That was when you could do motivational workouts. We still tell that story to this day. They're still probably not very happy about that, but
there's that 2009 run to the Super Regional. It gets lost because basketball made the NCAA tournament that year, and so much was happening. But it's now, it's more than 15 years ago. What do you remember about going to Oklahoma, beating Oklahoma to make the Super Regionals, and the people waking up saying, "Holy cow, this is a big deal. It's softball just did this."
Oh, I remember it easily. And the couple of highlights, I guess, from it were our saying that year was "dream big almost isn't good enough," because people had made like the tournament and you had to win it to go in softball. You have to win your conference tournament to go. Most mid-majors, that's kind of how it is. And we didn't want to just be happy to make the tournament or to get in the finals. So our saying was "dream big, but almost isn't good enough." And it was actually almost more nerve-wracking to get out of conference because you had 5 years of expectations. Our catcher, Kelly Cantrell, had a 4-leaf clover that she kept in her back pocket. I know people were wearing the same things over and over again, and obviously we won that. And that's probably, people ask me to this day, there's obviously coming to the World Series, but I can say that conference tournament, 2014 conference tournament, and then obviously some regional, super regionals that, put it in the same spot. The weight of your entire season being on those 2 tournaments specifically, I remember. And the biggest thing, we went to Oklahoma, they were ranked 7th in the country. Andy Padilla threw amazing. I was calling pitches at that time. And we had a lightning delay in the 9th inning.
Yeah, that's right.
So we pulled this potent offense to 0, and then we're in a delay for a long time. Then we sit there, and then they call the game, and then we come back and win it 1-0 in the 11th inning. Jackie Curry hitting about 275-foot home run to left field. So, and then you have the biggest win in your program history, even to this day, probably in one of them in my career, same probably Darren. And then you have 30 minutes to celebrate, and you now have to play Tulsa because he had to do it over 2 days. And then we win that game coming from behind in the 7th inning with 2 outs and nobody on base. Melissa Shimleski hitting Elisa from first base down the right field line. So, and then we just had to split a doubleheader, and we took care of business to go undefeated, which is pretty cool. So, a lot of special memories. I remember that very clearly.
It sounds like you sound like you got everything still remembered about that. The fun part is now to try to tell people that are new to NDSU or just getting here that you guys used to play in the Dome. I remember when you couldn't play outside, you were playing softball games in the Fargo Dome.
We did. We played in the Fargo Dome. We play at Minnesota. We played at Nebraska just to try to kick games in here in the Midwest. You know, it's a different world we live in, and our athletes and female athletes get so more, and it's all the right stuff. But some of my favorite memories are getting on a bus at 11 o'clock at night, putting on a scary movie, you know, getting up wherever we were in McCombs or Fort Wayne, you know, timing up, eating breakfast. And as a team, I was running off the bus, going to practice and getting to the hotel, like, and then winning a series. You know, sometimes these kids think things are hard and they don't really have any idea. You don't know what you don't know, but I wouldn't trade some of those as part of my experience for anything.
Last thing before I let you go, after winning on Sunday, have you heard a lot from people back here about making it back to OKC?
Yeah, tons. I think that's probably when I can't get past getting to 200 text messages to try to get back to people. To be honest, it's been that special. And that means I'm getting old because there's a lot of people been able to coach and be connected to. But from here, Minnesota, families, administrators, I've had administrators from NDSU reach out. Same with Minnesota too. So just means I was in a lot of cool places and a lot of the right places that fit my life and part of who I am today.
Well, it's awesome to see you. Congratulations. I know you're super busy, so I really appreciate you carving out a few minutes for us. And good luck this weekend at the World Series, okay?
Thank you. Once a Bison, always a Bison.
Great to see you, Jamie. Jamie Trachsel, Ole Miss head softball coach, joining us today. The Rebels will play against Texas Tech coming up Thursday night in Oklahoma City, one of 5 teams from the SEC. Trachsel, of course, was here for 14 years of the Bison, part of that 2009 team that, as she just detailed it in great detail of their win over Oklahoma. Good stuff there, and we'll be keeping our eyes on that when it starts on Thursday. We're due for a break. We come back. Jason Beilke will join us, Cheyenne head baseball coach, as the Mustangs get ready for the Class A tournament, which begins on Thursday in Grand Forks. Coming up, other side of the break, Hot Mike is back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Final 25 minutes or so of our program on this Tuesday. We mentioned we are tournament heavy starting on Thursday across all of our channels and networks. Extra is going to have games. WDAY 2 is going to have games. WDAY Plus is going to have games. Thursday in Grand Forks, first time in forever that the Class A baseball tournament will be held at Kraft Field. That gets underway Thursday. West Fargo Cheyenne has owned this division over the better part of the last half-decade. The Mustangs are back at the Class A tournament, which gets going on Thursday. Head coach Jason Beilke is good enough to join us here on this Tuesday as they get ready for the tournament getting underway. It's great to see you. Tell me about this weekend getting through. EDC always is the real challenge of getting through that and now getting the chance to play at state.
Yeah, we had to kind of fight our way to even get into the tournament the last few weeks. It seems like we've been playing elimination games for about the last 2 weeks. We started to piece it together. Our pitching has been there all year. We've started to get some timely hits recently and through 3 pretty good games together in the EDC where we had all 3 phases of the game working for us.
You got Legacy coming up. That's the second game on Thursday afternoon. Did you feel like as you're watching the team, like, okay, it's coming? There's something that it's got to click, and when it does, we're going to be okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, our pitching has always been there. We kind of struggled a little bit defensively early in the season. I think if you look back at our EDC schedule, I think we lost 5 one-run games in the EDC, so we're right in games, and we've pieced it together. We've limited the mistakes in the EDC and started having some timely hitting. So that was great.
So it gets better. It's like baseball, better late than never, right? To have this all happen?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, if you're going to score or if you score often, whatever, as long as you score often, whenever it happens, it happens.
To get the win when you beat South on Friday, knew you were in for state, does that relax the nerves for Saturday? No, you're playing Davies and how good they are, but did that relax things to get ready for what Saturday was like?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Saturday was a really, really good game by both sides. It was a phenomenal pitching performance by both guys. Kozendowski threw a great game. Our kid only gave up 2 hits. They just happened to be almost back-to-back in the same inning that led to the run. Kids played loose, relaxed, and they still went out and competed. And, you know, they wanted to win that EDC title, and we just fell a little short.
I got to ask here about you taking over because Ryan Bedell did an unbelievable job. You were right there with him. Was this when Ryan decided to step on? Was this something you, hey, I want to do this? Did you need some arm twisting to do it, or was this something I want to take on?
Yeah, absolutely. I was his assistant for 2 years, and he kind of let us know that second year. And when he said that, I knew I kind of wanted to, take over. I was working at Central Cass at the time, so I knew I had to find a way to get into the school district because that drive's not very fun, especially with how unpredictable spring can be with practices and games and all that stuff.
Taking over as the biggest challenge going from assistant to head coach was what for you?
As a head coach, you have to install a little bit more of that discipline side. As an assistant, you're trying to be their shoulder to talk to. Sometimes, when the head coach is getting on them, you're that friend that they need sometimes. And trying to flip that page and, allowing my assistants to take over and, me being a little harder on the kids and asking a little more out of them was a little bit of a change right away. It took a little time, mostly about halfway to the end of last year, it got to there. So
the muscle memory with this team, Jason, that, people know Sheyenne, they won 3 of the last 4 Class A baseball titles. When you get to this time of the year, I know it's a different team, new players. Is there a thing to that? Can you play into that? Is it getting ready for Thursday?
Yeah, a little bit. Previous 3 times we won it, we were kind of the favorites. And, we're coming in as a 7 seed in the EDC, and people aren't really looking at us at that powerhouse anymore. But we're just out here trying to prove them wrong and know that we are a very, 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 very good 7 seed that was in the EDC.
I got told, little birdie told me Hunter Pinky went and spoke to the team. What did that mean, and what did that do for you guys?
That was great to have him come in. If anyone hasn't had him or seen him talk, they should. We were going through a lot at that time where maybe a little selfish play was going on, and we talked about playing for the person in front of you, playing for the person next to you, how to handle adversity. And it showed in that horse game. We took a 2-run lead early. They responded with 3, and we responded right away by taking the lead right back. And that was something early in the season that when we'd get down, we'd kind of hang our heads and it'd be over. But I love to see the bounce back and the handling the adversity from the kids. Give
us a couple guys that have, I know I'm going to ask you to single somebody out, so I apologize, but a couple of the players that have really stepped up that have got you to this point.
Offensively, we have our 3 lefties, Landon Zink, Tate Herman, and Jace Burns have led us offensively. Pitching-wise, Hudson Dinger and our senior Parker Henrich has a sub-1 ERA and has led the team in innings. And he's kind of an unsung hero because you hear all these other guys on our team, and he's just gone and be consistent every single game and gives us a chance to win every time out. Great 2 guys to have at the top of the rotation. And then Parker Rolson, the last 2 outings, he held Davies to 2 hits the other day and had a complete game shutout against Shanley that pretty much secured us being in the EDC tournament.
You haven't played Legacy this time of year. How tough is that, not seeing a team like you get to see everybody in the East 2-3 times over maybe by the time you get to state? How different is this now? You're facing a team you haven't seen yet at all.
Yeah, Legacy's been in the state tournament every year. Kind of see them play a little bit there. Obviously, like us, they're going to be different teams. You try to get some information as you can. The only team we saw at West was Dickinson, so you look at how you compared to them. But again, for us in Dickinson, it was a weekend game. We're throwing not our regular guys, but the lineup's there. You try to get as much as you can on them. Modern technology, you can probably find a game of theirs online somewhere to watch and see. So we'll be doing that a little bit tonight, scouring and seeing what we can get.
I'm really interested, Jason, on going back to Grand Forks for state. I know you guys go up there to play the Grand Forks schools, but Kraft Field has not hosted an event like this in a long time. What's the excitement level or maybe the newness factor of this that we don't know about for this weekend?
Yeah, we were up there earlier this year and played Red River, and they've done a great job renovating the grandstands and everything. I believe EDC was there 4 years ago. I think my first year where they hosted the EDC tournament. It's a great facility. It's a great atmosphere. It's good to get up there, and we played there earlier this year, and hopefully we can have a good weekend.
Turf infield and normal grass outfield. How does that control? I know you do that. West Fargo has that, so there's a couple around here. What are the challenges that are presented with that?
Young has it where we just played the EDC. Starion, which we didn't get on this year. We use our football field a little bit for the infielders to take reps. And then, outfielders just are at our field. It's not too big a difference. Balls, when they get in the outfield, are going to act the way they act, and should get pretty true and good hops on the infield.
The level of excitement getting into this, knowing, okay, we're one of the final 8. Describe having a good start, a quick start. Is that something necessary in a baseball game like this, or not so much?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll be the home team, so whoever we throw right away, big chance to go up and put a 0 up on the board in the first inning, have a quick top of the first, and then just, put pressure on. Even if you don't score a run, get some guys on, get that lineup turned over as fast as you can to get back to the top. It's always great to have a fast start. So,
you've been around North Dakota baseball for a while. The level of talent just seems like I'm looking at guys that are made the NCAA tournament, not just from NDSU but other places around. You've seen it. Why the sudden burst that the players have gotten this good in a short amount of time?
I think the training around the area is very good. We do have a lot of kids that are multi-sport athletes that go out and compete, and just, that competitiveness. Like Landon Zink is a state wrestling champion runner-up and also played on the state championship football team. Tate Herman played on the football team, Caden Olson, and a lot of these guys that are having high success are playing a lot of different sports. And they're just out there competing, and that's the best thing. And watching them go compete in other sports and then it translates over is great.
I appreciate the time. I know you're in the middle of getting ready for a busy couple days. Thanks so much for doing this. Appreciate it. Good luck this weekend. We'll talk soon, okay?
Absolutely. Appreciate it.
Jason Beilke, head coach of the Sheyenne baseball team. They will open up on Thursday afternoon against Bismarck Legacy, one of 4 games on Thursday. The entire Class A quarterfinal round, you can stream those games, will be on WDAY Plus on Thursday. Semifinals will be on the Plus as well on Friday. And then the championship, that will be on WDAY Extra coming up on Saturday at 2 o'clock. Neat thing we've done this year, and the high school league worked with us, which is really neat, is we're going to have championship Saturday basically line up and have championship games all day long, starting early in the morning and go until, we hope not too late at night, but probably late at night. Wrap it up with the Class B baseball championship game on Saturday night, probably about 7 o'clock. Hopeful at Newman Outdoor Field. The Class B softball game goes at about 4:30. Class A softball, as you see here, will go at 2 o'clock. Class A softball will go at noon or 11. I can't remember. I believe it's noon. With soccer going to be on WDAY 2. It's best we can do. We're trying to navigate as best we can, and hoping. Storm Tracker app, I've been checking it for the last couple days because I jinxed it by saying out loud about the weather when we were talking about planning on this. As I look now, and a couple years ago, people remember we had 100 degrees on championship week. I mean, that was awful. It was not that long ago. It was like 3 years ago. We had 100 degrees. Friday, 84. Well, Thursday, 78 sunny. Friday, 84 sunny. Saturday, partly sunny, 80. Let's go. Let's go. If we're going to have 6 tournaments in one weekend, least we can do is get some help from the weather, and it looks like that's going to be the case. So certainly we're trying to plan it. That makes it a heck of a lot easier. So sunscreen necessary. If anybody saw the show, Getzinger didn't bring any, apparently, to Bismarck. I can say that because I've been sunburned plenty of times, so I can harass them, but they invent sunscreen, Sam. We'll take our final break. We come back. We'll wrap things up, get you ready for a busy Sports Tuesday. Hot Mike wraps after this on WDAY Extra, KSFL TV, KNBN in Rapid City, and Inforum.com. Was this on the show yesterday? I didn't watch the whole show. So what do we need it on today for, then? We already had it on. You know what? When you host this summer, you can visit for 2 hours there, Benell. All right, wrapping things up here on I just broke news to him that he's hosting this week, this summer, so that'd be great. Coming up later in the week, we'll be live on Thursday's show from NDSU because I'm doing softball this weekend. Pumped about that. I'll be calling the Class B softball tournament up at NDSU. Apparently, we need everybody, so they're dragging me out of mothballs to call some games. So we'll have Hot Mic live Thursday on location, which will be a good show. We're looking forward to that. I know Corey Erickson, head coach of Hillsborough Central Valley, is going to join us. A couple other coaches as well up at NDSU. As this is, I think, the third or fourth time that they've had the Class B up at NDSU. Every time I've been up there, I think almost every year. I don't think I was there a couple of years. It's been dynamite. Attendance-wise is packed. I'm looking forward to that and to see the Class A, which is being held at UND's new complex as well, to see what the reviews are out of that. That begins coming up, as I mentioned, on Thursday. Tomorrow we'll give you the full breakdown of where you can watch everything and how you can take in all the good stuff. We'll do that on the show coming up tomorrow. Couple things to get to here. Friend of the program, Scott Docterman, who covers college football for The Athletic. Honestly, I don't know if he was watching, but he did send me a column that he wrote today, which is predicting all of the college football TV assignments for the first 3 weeks. Now, he didn't get the FCS games in there, which is fine. He doesn't cover FCS football, but he's predicting the first 3 weeks, which there's some good ones here for those. Now, we already know a few matchups that have already been announced. But let's see. He does not have North Dakota's at Kansas State. South Dakota at Iowa State. Does not have that for any of Fox Sports 1 or anything like that. I'd be surprised, honestly. USD being as highly ranked as they're going to be, I thought their game with Iowa State might potentially sneak on to a FS1. I know UND and Iowa State played on FS1 to start last season. Week 2, there's a couple of goodies there. Kansas, Missouri will be predicting for WDAY, ABC at 2:30. This is the first full weekend of September. Iowa State on Fox. Michigan, Oklahoma is a night game. That's a heck of a game. 6:30 on WDAY. Primetime there in week 2. Sac State at Nevada on Fox Sports 1. A 9:30 kickoff. We don't know if this is Sac State's swan song in FCS. Nobody said anything. Mum's the word there. Week 3, Wisconsin and Alabama, 2:30 on WDAY. That is the second weekend of September. So it sounds like we'd be preempting that one because we have Bison football that weekend. That's the home opener. So that's SEMO. That game would likely be on Extra. Wisconsin and Alabama coming up. If it that's not been officially announced yet, but if that's the case. Gophers are at Cal. He's saying that would be a 2:30 kick on ESPN2 that particular week. Again, I'll go back to what I said earlier in the show. If they were to televise this, people would watch or stream it. Stream it, man. If you don't want to put it on TV, people would watch. People with no lives like myself that like this kind of thing, yeah, there would be, okay, write that down. We know that's going to be that. People would watch it. I'm telling you. Speaking of watching, let's do some what to watch before we get out of here. Alrighty. Got a busy Tuesday lineup of stuff going on. We got the wrap-up of the NCAA golf season happening today. That's fun. That's on the Golf Channel. Twins of the Rays coming up. Game 2 from Tampa. 6 o'clock on Twins.tv for that one. Minnesota lost, as we showed you earlier, opening game of the series. See if they can bounce back coming up tonight. 6 o'clock for that one. Joe Ryan goes for Minnesota tonight. Game 4, Eastern Conference Finals in the NBA. 7 o'clock on TNT. Knicks and the Pacers. Indiana leads the series 2-1. The Knicks came from 20 points down on Sunday night and won that. If they win tonight, we got a 2-all series with Game 5 coming up in New York. That'll be a doozy tonight. All 3 of those games have been so good. Been the opposite of the Western Conference Finals. Speaking of the Western Finals, in the NHL, Game 4, Stars and the Oilers tonight, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Edmonton leads that series 2-1. So if Connor McDavid and the Oilers win tonight, they'll be a win away from going to the Stanley Cup Final for the second year in a row. We got to roll. Thanks to our guests today, to Jason Beilke, to Jamie Trachsel, and Mike McFeely. If you missed any of the show, you can podcast it later today at Inforum.com. You can watch a full replay of our show on WDAY+. Everybody have a great Tuesday. Enjoy some beautiful weather. We'll see you back here tomorrow on Hot Mic on WDAY Extra, KSFL, KMBN, and Inforum.com.